They fled into the darkness barefoot, in sub-zero temperatures, slashing their way out of their own tent from the inside. Hours later, they were dead, scattered across the snow, their bodies twisted, broken, and half-dressed. No one heard their screams. No one has ever explained why. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass incident, a real event so disturbing, so carefully documented, yet so incomprehensible that it has baffled investigators, scientists, and skeptics for over 6 decades. No theory fits cleanly. No evidence provides comfort. It remains one of the coldest, most unsettling mysteries ever recorded in human exploration. In January 1959, a group of 10 students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnical Institute in the Soviet Union planned a ski hiking expedition across the northern Ural Mountains. The group was made up of 9 men and women in their early 20s, all physically fit and highly experienced in mountain trekking. Their leader, Igor Dyatlov, was known for his strict organization and caution. He had selected the team carefully, all capable, all reliable. They left the town of Ivdel on January 27th. One member, Yuri Yudin, was forced to turn back due to illness, a twist of fate that likely saved his life. The remaining 9 pressed onward. They skied through dense forest, climbed steep slopes, and made steady progress despite deteriorating weather. The hikers meticulously recorded their journey through journals and photographs. Their moods appeared high, their pace steady. But as the weather worsened on February 1st, they became disoriented and accidentally veered off course. Rather than descend into the forest, they camped on the exposed slope of a mountain called Kholat Syakhl. Whether for tactical reasons or due to exhaustion, it was a fatal decision. When they failed to return by February 12th, relatives sounded the alarm. It wasn't until February 26th that their tent was found, half buried in snow, slashed from the inside. The scene was inexplicable. Boots, coats, and food were left behind. 9 people had fled into a deadly blizzard with little or no protection. Rescuers followed a trail of footprints leading down the slope. About 500 meters away, beneath a large cedar tree, lay 2 bodies dressed only in underwear, their hands burned, possibly from trying to stay warm near a fire. 3 more were found between the tree and the tent, their bodies frozen mid-motion, faces turned toward the campsite. Then silence. 2 months passed before the final 4 were discovered in a forested ravine. They were buried beneath 4 meters of snow. These bodies showed horrifying internal injuries. Rib cages crushed, skulls fractured, One woman's tongue, lips, and eyes were missing, yet the skin showed no external bruising. It was as if a sudden, immense pressure had crushed their insides without breaking the surface. Adding to the confusion, some of their clothing tested positive for radiation. Soviet investigators, under pressure to close the case, simply attributed the deaths to an unknown compelling force. The files were archived. The area was declared off-limits. The mystery was buried, but never forgotten. Over the decades, investigators, scientists, and amateur sleuths have offered countless theories. The most widely accepted is that the group was startled by a natural event, perhaps a low-frequency wind phenomenon called infrasound that caused disorientation and panic. Others insist it was a slab avalanche triggered above their tent, forcing them to flee. But critics of the avalanche theory point out the slope wasn't steep enough, and the tent remained partially standing. Some believe the group may have witnessed secret military tests and were silenced. Others suggest they encountered something more otherworldly. Strange lights were reportedly seen in the sky that night by observers miles away. Theories range from experimental weapons to UFOs, yet no theory fits all the evidence. Perhaps the most unnerving aspect of the Dyatlov Pass mystery is how precise and traceable everything is, and yet how little sense it makes. We have photographs, we have diaries, we have autopsy reports. Every step of the journey is documented, but the final hours are a black hole of logic. Igor Dyatlov's last diary entry is dated February 1st, the night they set up camp on the slope. There is no panic in his words, no fear, no sign that within hours he and his friends would meet one of the most terrifying and unexplained ends in modern history. In 2020, the Russian government reinvestigated the case and reaffirmed that an avalanche was the likely cause. But for many, this explanation fails to answer key questions. Why slash the tent from the inside instead of unzipping it? Why flee into the night half naked? What explains the trauma? Injuries like those seen in car crashes without visible impact marks. And what about the radiation? For Yuri Yudin, the only survivor, the mystery haunted him for life. He died in 2013, still believing the truth had never been revealed. If I had a chance to ask God one question, he once said, it would be, what really happened to my friends that night? Today, Dyatlov Pass is a pilgrimage site for hikers, conspiracy theorists, and the curious. But in that frozen silence, nothing speaks. The snow buries clues. The wind erases answers. And perhaps that's what makes this story so enduring. It isn't just a mystery. It's a reminder that even in the age of evidence, some truths remain out of reach. 9 lives, 1 night, 0 answers. The Dyatlov Pass remains open, not just in the mountains of Russia, but in the human mind, where questions echo endlessly across the ice.